I started to make a new video today and I'm really rusty on TIG welding, so what do you do there? Just run a bead. To shake the rust off, I'm going to run a bead on the edge of 11 gauge cold rolled. We'll talk a little bit about high speed pulse because I really like high speed pulse on an edge or near an edge. Let's do it. I'm going to be using a number 8 clear cup with 20 CFH of argon today with a 332 2% lanthanated electrode and a 1/16 ER70S6 filler wire. I've cleaned the metal. It's cold rolled, but I cleaned it anyway. It's always a good practice. Getting ready to light up here on the very corner. Right away you can hear the high-speed pulse. It almost sounds like alternating current, like if you were welding aluminum. You can't really necessarily see it here on the film. There is a slight flicker when you're doing this under the helmet. It's just not annoying to look at, like say 4 pulses a second or something like that. Let's take a quick look at the settings and we'll get right back to the welding. Okay, so I had the machine set 124 amps. I don't need near that much, but when you pulse, you need more amps than what you think. You get an average of your background current and your peak current. I'm on about 39 pulses a second, give or take, 30% background amps. And my post flow is set about 7 or 8 because I just don't need that much. And like I said, even though I set the machine amperage at 124, my average output is in the mid 30s. I peaked out around 37. But notice right here, this is the biggest difference with high-speed pulse on an edge. The edges of that weld aren't just rolling over and melting those corners off. They're kind of sticking, standing up right where I put it. And that's the biggest difference for high-speed pulse. It's not like night and day. You can definitely do this edge weld without pulse at all. But it just gives you a little bit of an advantage, a little edge. You can daydream for a second and lose concentration and still not go overboard and roll the bead way over the corners or anything like that. It's another tool in the tool belt is all I'm saying, and I like to have a lot of options. To quote my friend JD, options can make you money. So if your TIG welder has the capability of doing high-speed pulse, I suggest giving this a try if you ever have to do a build-up on an edge. You can go much thinner than this, and it can definitely be done without pulse, but pulse definitely helps a little bit. Now let's run a second bead on that and a third one, using this little bit different cup with bigger shielding. Using a little bit larger cup can help when you're doing multi-pass edge build-up. The less oxidation, the better when you're doing multiple passes, because each bead will flow a little bit better if it's got only a little bit of oxidation. That first bead had a little bit of discoloration, but not too bad. And that pulse is helping this bead just kind of stick and stand up at attention. Because I'm trying to build it up, that's a good thing. Now this could definitely be done without pulse. I'm not saying that you have to have pulse to do edge buildup. In fact, in a previous video, I built up a bead on this 038 thick steel, not using pulse. And then of course I used a much sharper needle point electrode, still a 3/32. A 1/16 would have been better, but I just didn't want to change out. But this is sort of a mandatory skill for aerospace repair welders, being able to control the puddle and not let it get out of hand on something thin like this. You do a lot of edge buildup in aerospace repair, so just getting a piece of steel and practicing this is great if you're trying to get into that industry. Now, using a cup like this might seem foreign to some people, so the rest of this video I'm just going to kind of show a lot of uses, a lot of previous videos where I've used this cup, both the clear version and the ceramic. Now I started using clear versions of these cups just strictly to film the arc better, because it just kind of lights everything up behind it and in front of it. But I learned pretty quick that it not only helps film, but it helps me see where the heck I'm going, along with little subtle details in the puddle. So it's kind of like a light bulb. In fact, it's exactly like a light bulb. It's a glowing red tungsten up inside some glass. I put together these combo kits that have one clear and one ceramic of this number 10 Jazzy 10 cup. One for 17 style torches, one for 920 style torches. so you don't have to pick out every individual part number. It's all there for you. If you know what kind of torch you have, you know the kit will work with your torch. This is what a collet looks like for a 17, 18, 26 style torch. And then here's what one looks like for a 920 style torch. That's all you really need to know. If you're wondering what style torch you have, just look at your collet body and that'll tell you. I've used this Jazzy 10 cup in numerous videos. Okay, this one was 304L stainless. The one thing about stainless, you want to get that puddle going really quickly, probably within 2 seconds. You want to get a puddle going and get moving. You want to outrun the heat. Heat can really build up on stainless steel, and the best way to keep from that happening is get going really quickly. And of course, having a large size cup really helps a lot, keeping that stuff shielded. This is carbon steel, so the shielding and the getting moving really quickly is not quite as important, but still, you want your weld to look good even on carbon steel. Once again, having that good shielding is great for multiple pass welds. This is the second pass on a stainless OLED fitting, and there's not much discoloration going on there on this second pass, and it's flowing in there like it should. Reaching tight angles like in the crotch of these cope tube joints is not a problem with a cup like this. You can go a 3/4, even a 1-inch stick out if you really need to. Some chromoly joints, like this is 120 wall thickness, some chromoly joints like this require 2 passes. Kind of a root pass, kind of sew everything up, and then a second pass for reinforcement. And so that second pass is just going to go in way better if you've got that first pass that's really shielded well. A lot of welders pump the pedal on chromoly joints like this for trophy trucks and all kinds of things like that in motorsports. And it's a good technique. It's actually more adaptable than the automatic pulse, because sometimes when you're moving around the corners, you're not ready for the pulse to come on yet. A titanium aerospace weld in a chill fixture like this can be done with a number 10 cup. Now, it's probably better to use something a little bit better, like a number 12 or a 14, or even the BBW size. But with the chill factor of an aerospace fixture like this, it pulls the heat out so quickly that even titanium can be done with hardly any discoloration. And that is usually a main requirement on aerospace tests like this for titanium. When you're TIG brazing silicon bronze, it can get scummy, it can get overheated, a lot of oxides can get in the puddle. So here I'm using about 1.5 to 2 pulses a second, along with the Jazzy 10 cup at about 20 to 25 CFH. And it's helping keep that puddle nice and clean. I'm not sure if I ever posted this one here on YouTube, but this is just cold rolled steel getting toward the end of a joint, getting ready to taper off. Leave the rod in the puddle for just a second and back off as I taper amperage, and that'll prevent leaving a crater hole. It also prevents blowing the end away of something thinner. Here's an example of times when you might need a longer stick out. This is about a 3/4, a little bit over 3/4 stick out, just plain DOM tubing. But getting in tight spots like this is no problem when you can use a long stick out. Some people use a really long, small cup, and that works too, but you don't get the shielding. So if you want it to look nice, especially if you're going to come across it with a second pass, it's good to have that first pass shielded really well. This is a fun little project that Precision Tube Laser sent me a while back. They call it the Mini Hurricane. It's got some tight little angles on it too, but being able to extend that electrode about 3/4 of an inch, kind of made it pretty easy. Well, hey, if you'd like to learn more about these Jazzy 10 combo kits or any of the other kits I have or other TIG accessories, just visit my store at weldmonger.com and make sure to check back often, because I'll put bonuses with these kits quite often.